Hello and welcome to Talk SCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Another preview for you today. Barcelona against Boca Juniors live from the Camp Nou is the Joan Gamper Trophy 2018. There's lots to discuss about the team, about some predictions, and looking ahead, of course, to the new La Liga season. All of that coming up in today's preview. Let's get on with it. So first of all, guys, this is, yes, the Joan Gamper Trophy 2018 is coming at a bit of a strange time in the season, of course, because technically our season is underway. We got off, of course, to a very good start against Sevilla in the Spanish Super Cup. We won that 2-1 just about in normal time. Now we have technically another friendly match before a very big game on Saturday at home against Alaves, which will mark the start of the La Liga season. Here, guys, are the Joan Gamper Trophy times around the world where you are, so you know what time the game kicks off. And I have to say, certainly in Spain, in local time, 6:15 is a very, very good time to get the locals in, to get some spectators into the stadium, and these kind of games are always good occasions. It might be a friendly, it may not have any weight to it technically, but it's certainly a trophy that commemorates the man himself, Joan Gamper, who did an awful lot for Barcelona Football Club, and certainly these games are always good feeling inside the Camp Nou. You know, I remember several years ago now, I went to Barcelona against AC Milan. I've mentioned this before when Ronaldinho came back, that iconic squad photo, of course, alongside Carlos Puyol, when he sort of went over to the Barcelona photo. He went round the pitch at the end, everybody gave him a great ovation, and of course last season playing Chapecoense at home, inviting them to the Camp Nou after the real tragedy they had suffered just previously. That was a good occasion, and it's always nice as well for the new signings to get embraced at the Camp Nou. You know, all the players will come out on the field one time, you know, get ovations and things like that, and it's just good to build some team spirit, team morale, and for the spectators, of course, to see the players before the big games begin and the season starts. But to be honest, this game is coming at quite a difficult time for us in terms of just 3 days before the start of the new La Liga season. If this game was on the Tuesday, it would have been very, very close to the Super Cup. If it was on the Wednesday like it is close to that La Liga game, which does kick on Saturday. So I wouldn't expect too much intensity in our game. I wouldn't expect massive amounts of competitiveness coming from our side. But having said that, looking at our opposition, Boca Juniors, I would expect them to come to the Camp Nou and really give it their all, simply because teams who come to the Camp Nou, particularly those who don't get to play Barcelona very often, or ever perhaps, in Boca Juniors' case, they're going to come over, they're going to enjoy the occasion, they're going to embrace it, they're going to love playing in front of so many fans. They do in Argentina, of course, but the Camp Nou right around the world is an iconic stadium, and they do have some very familiar faces as well that you will recognise, no doubt. For instance, one of their key players, very key players actually, Christian Pavón, you'll all know him and you'll recognise him, of course. He started alongside Lionel Messi in the World Cup campaign, and Christian Pavón actually scored the only goal of Boca's first match of the season, which took place on Sunday. He scored the only goal in that game and has started the season well after signing a new contract. Another man you'll certainly recognise is Carlos Tevez, another compatriot of Lionel Messi. He'll certainly line up for the Argentinians on Wednesday, and like I say, they're going to enjoy it, they're going to come out, they're going to embrace it, and I would expect them to really be committed out there, and it's going to be a test for us in terms of physicality, mentality as well. Boca Juniors have started their season, they're going to be on it, and it will give us a good test. But in terms of team news in this game, you know, I wouldn't expect Ernesto Valverde to go out on a whim here and really play his strongest possible team. You know, I'd be really, really surprised if he did do that. Looking at it from that perspective, I actually think this game is a really good one to sort of blood some youngsters, to give some people some minutes who haven't had an awful lot of game time recently, just to finally get these guys up to speed before the start of the season. That's really important. You know, those who haven't had a pre-season, coming back late from the World Cup, this could be the final chance really to get some minutes under your belt, get some match sharpness and get yourself ready. And just looking at the team news, there isn't an awful lot. The injury is still the same. You know, the Denis Suarez out injured, Carlos Alenia is still out injured. But just a quick word on Carlos Alenia, and something I think is very, very good news indeed. It was fantastic today to see him back in training. This morning, he did take part, not in the full session, he didn't complete the full session with the rest of the group, but he did do part of the session, and it was really good to see him back in training. Very encouraging signs. He suffered a very serious injury at the very end of last season. He's only just recovering from that, but it is good to see him back in training now, working with the ball, working with the rest of the team, and that is really, really good news, because it's quite easy actually to forget about Carlos Allen. You've got a lot of options now in midfield, but he is somebody who I think when he's back, when he's fully fit, when he's regained his fitness, he should certainly be a very exciting player in that midfield. A young player coming up now in the first team is going to get some minutes, and I'm absolutely sure when he does come back, when he is fresh, he will be a very, very big talent once again in that Barcelona midfield. And usually at this point, guys, I would start to run you now through my entire starting 11, but I'm going to do it quite differently today, simply because I want to run you through each of the names that I think should start in this game and basically give my reasoning for it, because basically I'm not going to have any, or really not many, of the big guns starting in this game, simply because, like I say, this is a good chance to give players some run out, give them some minutes. Some of them really deserve them as well, and it's a good chance to rest some guys ahead of that game on Saturday. You can bring them on, maybe you can even start with the big guns, but I would only expect them to play 45 minutes maximum, because you've got to keep them fresh, you've got to keep them rested. That game on Saturday against Alaves is our priority, make no mistake about that. So I would personally start in goal with definitely, 100% definitely, Jasper Cillessen has to be playing this game, and I personally think that he should have played the Super Cup. Obviously, Ter Stegen on the night was sensational, he saved the penalty at the end, he did brilliantly, no, nothing wrong with Ter Stegen, but I just think Cillessen, he needs some minutes. He didn't really feel convinced about the club, he didn't really feel like he was going to get the minutes that he deserved. He's thinking about leaving this season, he still is thinking about that, and we need to give him all the minutes that we possibly can when we can. He's not going to play in the league, he's very unlikely to play in the Champions League, it's going to be cup matches only. This game he has to start. He looked very disappointed on the bench right throughout the game against Sevilla. He said that he believed he was going to start in that game, but Valverde didn't do it. He must play here simply to keep his morale high and hopefully keep a really, really excellent second goalkeeper at Barcelona. At left back, I would certainly once again go with Juan Miranda. Jordi Alba endured quite a difficult 90 minutes against Sevilla, but not really because of that. I think Miranda simply, if he's going to make that step up to the first team, Valverde seems to want to go with him over Cucurella. He's trained all the time with the first team, so he's ready to come in. We need to see him now in action, getting some experience, getting to know his first team colleagues, and basically having some time on the pitch to really stamp his authority on this team and really show us that he can make that step up, and that starts with the Gamper trophy. Then at centre-back, I would go with the partnership. Firstly, Sam William-Thitty, I think, has to come into the team simply because he didn't play at all in pre-season. Of course, he was one of those that arrived back late from the World Cup, as did Thomas Vermaelen. I would start both of them in this game simply because they need some minutes under their belt, they need to get match fit, and both of these players have had very, very little game time recently since they came back, and now is the perfect time to put them in alongside each other. Two left-footed centre-backs, yes, but Umtiti can play on the right, Vermaelen on the left. They should be comfortable there, and like I say, this is all about getting some game time, this is all about getting that match sharpness. And with exactly that in mind, I would go with Sergi Roberto at right back, simply because, of course, he missed the Super Cup with suspension. He had a red card, of course, at the end of last season, which ruled him out of the Super Cup. Nelson Semedo came in, and I think has done very well at right back. Even in pre-season, we saw Roberto playing in midfield a lot more, but I still think, deep down inside me, that Valverde, most of this season, is going to want to use Sergi Roberto in that right back role. I hope that I'm wrong, because I think Semedo is very good there. I think Roberto could do a job in midfield, but I think Valverde is going to use Roberto there, and for that reason, I would expect to see him at right back at some point in tomorrow's game. Now in the defensive midfield position, I would personally go with Sergi Samper. Now this is a very, very big inclusion. He hasn't too long come back from that injury that unfortunately kept him out of our United States tour in pre-season, and that was so unlucky, because I felt that was a real chance for him to go on that pre-season tour, play a lot of minutes in that midfield, because there was no Busquets, there was no other midfield options really, first teamers. He could have gone there and really stamped his place on this team and tried to prove to Valverde that he should stay at the club. He got injured though, he missed that tour. This may now be his only chance to show Valverde what he can do, and for that reason I would love to see him start in this game. As Busquets is understudy, he can do a job. Then onto the two interior spots in midfield, I would firstly go with Arturo Vidal, simply because he came on against Sevilla in the Super Cup only for a few minutes though, and that was the very first minutes he'd played since he picked up a knee injury back in April for Bayern Munich. He needs some game time, he needs some time out on the pitch to really get fresh and match fit. He also needs some time in the Barcelona system, surrounded by his new teammates. What better chance to get a run out at the Camp Nou with not a lot of pressure on him, give Vidal a run out here and get him some minutes. And alongside him, I don't think any of us need another introduction to see Riqui Puig in action again. Now, I know with this, guys, I've been meaning to say it for a while, there is a different pronunciation in Catalan on that second name. It's Riqui Puig in Catalan, but actually, for me, it's very, very difficult to pronounce it like that. So I've stuck with Puig. I'm trying to ease my way there, but if you just bear with me, I'm on the verge, actually, of calling him Riqui P. I think we'll stick with that. But it'll be very, very exciting, all jokes aside, to see Puig back in the starting lineup, simply because he was so exciting in pre-season. He is such a big talent in that midfield, and I'm really excited to see him once again. I'm sure that he'll play at least some part tomorrow evening, and it'll be an absolute treat to all those watching at the Camp Nou if he can continue to deliver what we consistently saw in pre-season. And then finally, on to the front three, which I would line up personally with Malcolm from the right. That one pretty self-explanatory, very similar to Arturo Vidal. Needs minutes on the pitch, hasn't really got any since he arrived in competitive action, didn't play in the Super Cup. Of course, he played in pre-season games, but no minutes at all, not even in the squad for that Super Cup. So I'd play Malcolm from the right. I'd put Coutinho on the left simply to give him a few minutes. He's not played an awful lot of time since he returned from the World Cup. He also wasn't involved in pre-season. He came off the bench in the Super Cup. I would now start him on the left of that attack to give us some firepower and get us some goals. And then Munir El Haddadi. That's who I would start in the centre forward position, simply because Suarez wasn't great against Sevilla. We need to have alternative options. Suarez, for me, needs to be pushed. He needs to have some competition. He could really thrive under that. And I think Munir, if we're going to keep him at the club, if we are going to put that faith in him, we need to see it on a week-to-week basis by putting him in the team and giving him some minutes. So that is basically my thoughts with the lineup for tomorrow's game. Be interested to see how many of those players actually make it into Ernesto Valverde's team. And like I say, you know, if you want to see the big guns later on in the game or before that, that's absolutely fine. Of course, the fans at the Camp Nou will want to see the big names. I've got no doubt about that. So we probably will see them at some point. But I just think these players deserve those minutes and would really thrive with some game time. I'm going to go with Barcelona 2, Boca Juniors 1. That is my prediction. We're not going to go all out this close to La Liga game, but we will see what happens tomorrow night. I'll be back to review the game. Thank you, as always, for watching, guys. Please leave your match and lineup predictions down below. I will see you soon. But until then, as always, Vesca El Barça.